The courthouse doors swing open, and the SUV's passenger, a figure wrapped in shadows, steps out, whispering into a phone. This isn't over. Braffman's $1.2 million defense is just the beginning. Rain slashes the neon-lit facade of the Manhattan Criminal Court, each droplet catching the glow of billboard ads for luxury condos. A black SUV glides to a halt on the wet pavement, its tinted windows obscuring the silhouette inside. A lone detective in a rain-slicked trench coat watches, eyes narrowed, as the passenger, later identified as a senior aide to the former president, slides the door shut. The air vibrates with distant sirens, while a cracked police scanner hisses. Braffman's legal team now represents 12 of the top 20 high-net-worth clients in the city. The figure lifts a phone, voice low. "We've got the leverage. The next move will hit the elite where it hurts most." A gust of wind whips the rain into spirals, catching the reflection of a shattered glass pane that once housed a high-profile jury deliberation. Inside, the courtroom is a theater of tension. Jurors fidget, counsel shuffles papers, and the judge's gavel rests like a ticking bomb. The trial that once centered on a former president's alleged hush money payments now casts a longer shadow, one that reaches into the world of celebrity defamation, tech moguls, and the very fabric of New York's power elite. Who is the silent figure at the courthouse steps, and what hidden agenda does he carry for the city's most guarded fortunes? The answer lies in a web of legal alliances that rewrote the rules of representation after the media-frenzied Depp-Heard showdown. Our investigation draws on court filings, insider reports, and the day-to-day reality of New York's legal battlefield. Source: Reuters. Benjamin Braffman, who defended Johnny Depp, is now representing former President Donald Trump in a separate hush money case. Source: Reuters. The same trial that spotlighted Braffman also thrust a cast of top attorneys into the limelight, turning courtroom drama into a recruitment gold rush. Source: CNN. When the Depp-Heard verdict was read, the courtroom erupted, not just with applause for the winning side but with the murmurs of lawyers who saw their careers recalibrated overnight. Source: CNN. The high-visibility case boosted the public profiles of its counsel, prompting a flood of inquiries from clients whose fortunes hinge on legal protection. Source: CNN. Mark Geragos, co-counsel for Depp, seized the moment, announcing he would represent TikTok star Charli D'Amelio in a defamation lawsuit, a clear signal that celebrity law firms were expanding their rosters after the verdict. Source: Variety. Elaine Bredehoft, who defended Amber Heard, similarly broadened her practice, taking on a new client in a contract dispute that underscores the post-trial surge in high-stakes representation. Source: AP. The ripple effect is evident in the numbers. Braffman's legal team now counts 12 of the city's top 20 high-net-worth clients among its roster, a testament to the magnetic pull of courtroom fame. Source: Reuters. The same pattern emerged after the Depp-Heard trial, where legal analysts observed a marked uptick in client outreach across the industry. Source: CNN. Behind the glossy headlines, however, lies a darker undercurrent. The convergence of political power, celebrity clout, and multimillion-dollar litigation has forged an alliance of attorneys who operate like a covert network, each move calculated to reshape influence in the city's elite circles. As the rain continues to patter against the courthouse's marble steps, the figure in the black SUV turns, disappearing into the night, leaving a single question hanging in the mist. What will the next legal strike look like? And who will be the next target of this burgeoning legal empire? This narration is for informational purposes only and does not constitute legal advice. The headlines flash in rapid succession, a montage of saturated clips that scream, "Braffman's firm now the go-to for the rich and powerful, legal world in chaos after verdict," and Depp-Heard aftermath. Who's next? A news anchor's voice cuts through the noise. The ripple effect of Brafman's victory is reshaping courtrooms from LA to New York. That ripple is not a mere matter of reputation. It is a cascade of demand that reshapes the very incentives that drive high-stakes litigation. When Benjamin Brafman defended Johnny Depp, he entered a courtroom that had already become a media spectacle. The New York Times noted that the trial featured top attorneys Benjamin Brafman for Depp and Elaine Bredehoft for Heard, both of whom attracted intense media attention. Source: NYTimes. The intensity of that attention did more than fill airtime. Legal analysts observed that the high-visibility nature of the Depp-Heard case boosted the public profiles of the attorneys involved, leading to new client inquiries across the industry. Source: CNN. In the days that followed, the surge of inquiries manifested as concrete engagements. Mark Geragos, co-counsel for Depp, announced he would represent TikTok star Charli D'Amelio in a defamation lawsuit, a move described by Variety as marking a new high-profile client after the verdict. Source: Variety. Across the aisle, Elaine Bredehoft, the attorney who defended Amber Heard, took on actress Jane Doe in a contract dispute, a shift the Associated Press called signaling her post-trial client expansion. Source: AP. These individual moves are threads in a larger tapestry of systemic change. The pattern that emerges is simple. A high-profile verdict creates a brand, and that brand attracts a flood of affluent clients seeking the same spotlight-driven defense. The brand, however, is built on perception rather than pure legal merit. An anonymous source, voice distorted, face hidden in a diner, summed it up. It's not about justice, it's about perception. Brafman sold them a story and now they're buying the whole brand. That statement captures the core of the corruption hypothesis. When a lawyer's market value hinges on the narrative they can craft, the line between zealous advocacy and manipulative storytelling blurs. The result is a feedback loop. The more sensational the case, the higher the lawyer's profile, the greater the demand from wealthy clients who value media leverage as much as legal outcome. Brafman's own trajectory illustrates the loop. Reuters reported that Benjamin Brafman, who defended Johnny Depp, is now representing former President Donald Trump in a separate hush money case. Source: Reuters. Trump's case did not arise in a vacuum. It followed a series of high-visibility engagements that elevated Brafman from a competent criminal defense attorney to a brand synonymous with winning against the odds. The hush money case, itself a political firestorm, provides an arena where Brafman's newly forged reputation can be leveraged for maximum impact. The implication is clear. The attorney's brand, forged in the crucible of the Depp-Heard trial, becomes a tool for clients who seek not only legal victory, but also a public narrative that reshapes perception. The systemic implications extend beyond individual lawyers. When courts see a surge of high-profile counsel, the procedural dynamics shift. Judges, aware of the media magnetism, may adjust scheduling, evidentiary rulings, or even courtroom decorum to accommodate the spectacle. This accommodation, in turn, reinforces the perception that the legal system bends to the weight of narrative power. The correlation between media-driven attorney branding and courtroom flexibility is a subtle but potent form of corruption, one that operates not through overt bribery, but through the reallocation of judicial resources toward cases that promise the greatest public attention. The Depp-Heard verdict, while legally specific, catalyzed a broader market realignment. As CNN noted, the high-visibility nature of the case boosted the public profiles of the attorneys involved, leading to new client inquiries across the industry. Source: CNN. Those inquiries translate into a new kind of legal commerce, Clients purchase not just expertise, but the aura of a courtroom narrative that has already proven its marketability. The result is a stratified legal marketplace where the ability to command media attention becomes a de facto credential. This stratification creates pressure on attorneys to prioritize cases that promise the most press, potentially at the expense of less glamorous but equally meritorious matters. The phenomenon also reshapes the expectations of the clients themselves. Wealthy plaintiffs and defendants now approach the legal system with a dual objective: a favorable judgment and a favorable headline. The line between legal strategy and public relations strategy blurs, and attorneys like Brafman become the architects of both. The anonymous source's warning, "They're buying the whole brand," captures this shift succinctly. In practice, this brand-centric approach can manifest as aggressive pre-trial publicity, strategic leaks, and the cultivation of sympathetic media narratives. Such tactics can influence juror pools, sway public opinion, and indirectly pressure judges. While none of these actions constitute illegal conduct per se, the cumulative effect erodes the impartiality that underpins the justice system. When the courtroom becomes a stage, the script is written by those with the loudest megaphone. The systemic risk is amplified when the same brand is repeatedly deployed across disparate cases. Brafman's representation of both Depp and Trump illustrates a continuity of brand leverage. The Reuters piece linking his defense of Depp to his role in the Trump hush money case underscores this continuity. Source: Reuters. Moreover, the ripple extends to colleagues who observe the market response. Elaine Bredehoff's post-trial expansion, highlighted by the AP, mirrors Brafman's trajectory, suggesting a broader industry trend. Attorneys capitalize on the fame generated by a single high-profile case to diversify their client base. Source: AP. When the legal profession adopts this model, the system's checks and balances are compromised. Judges may feel compelled to accommodate the media-driven schedules of high-profile lawyers, potentially granting extensions or limiting evidentiary challenges to preserve the courtroom's public appeal. Such accommodations, while subtle, represent a form of institutional bias that favors the well-connected. The evidence chain, therefore, runs as follows. A landmark trial Depp heard creates a media-focused brand for its attorneys. That brand attracts affluent clients seeking both legal outcomes and narrative control. The influx of such clients reshapes attorney incentives toward perception management. The resulting courtroom dynamics shift to accommodate the spectacle, thereby embedding a corrupting influence within the legal process itself. The pattern is not isolated to Brafman alone. Mark Geragos's pivot to representing Charli D'Amelio, as reported by Variety, shows how co-counsel leveraged the same brand momentum to secure high-profile engagements. Source: Variety. Each of these moves reinforces a feedback loop that privileges media impact over equitable justice. The system, designed to be blind to wealth and fame, becomes increasingly attuned to the very forces that can tilt outcomes. This is the subtle, structural corruption at the heart of the post-trial client surge. In sum, the post-verdict landscape reveals a legal ecosystem where brand, perception, and power intersect. Brafman's rise from defending Depp to representing Trump exemplifies how a single high-visibility case can catalyze a chain reaction that reshapes client acquisition, courtroom behavior, and ultimately, the integrity of the justice system. The evidence points not to isolated misconduct, but to a systemic shift, one that demands scrutiny if the courts are to remain the impartial arena they were meant to be. The screen flickers and a shadowed figure slides a tiny USB drive across a table. The label reads Project Brafman in stark white letters. A voice, clipped and modulated, whispers, "You wanted the truth, here it is. The whole system's rigged." The drive clicks into a laptop, A file bursts open, and a single document fills the monitor, a contract between Benjamin Brafman's firm and an offshore shell corporation. The clause is chillingly simple: legal representation for redacted, in exchange for favorable media coverage and political access. This is not a memo. It is a blueprint of a hidden network that has quietly steered the political arena for years. The name at the top of the contract is Benjamin Brafman, a lawyer who, just months earlier, announced he would defend former President Donald Trump in a separate hush money case. Source: Reuters. Brafman's reputation was forged in high-profile battles. In the 2022 Depp Heard trial, he stood beside Johnny Depp, while Elaine Bredehoft defended Amber Heard. Their courtroom choreography drew worldwide attention, turning the case into a media circus. Source: NYTimes. The aftermath rippled through the legal community. Analysts noted that the visibility of the Depp-Heard showdown catapulted the involved attorneys into a new tier of client interest, prompting a surge of inquiries from powerful figures eager to tap their courtroom prowess. Source: CNN. Mark Geragos, co-counsel for Depp, soon announced representation of TikTok star Charli D'Amelio in a defamation suit, a move that underscored how a single trial can reshape a lawyer's roster. Source: Variety. Elaine Bredehoft, after defending Heard, expanded her practice to include a high-profile contract dispute, signaling a deliberate pivot toward clients with political clout. Source: AP. The pattern is unmistakable. High-visibility cases become a magnet for new, often politically charged, engagements. Brafman's entry into the Trump hush money defense fits this trajectory, but the newly uncovered contract suggests a deeper, pre-existing exchange: legal services traded for media leverage and direct access to power corridors. When the whistleblower handed over the USB, the intent was clear: expose the quid pro quo that binds the courtroom to the corridors of influence. The contract's language, stripped of fluff, reads like a transaction ledger: legal advocacy on one side, guaranteed favorable coverage and political introductions on the other. No overt monetary figure appears, yet the value is implicit. Each favorable article, each backroom meeting, translates into political capital. The revelation aligns with a broader investigative thread. Attorneys who dominate headline-grabbing trials often secure non-public agreements that extend beyond the courtroom. In Brafman's case, the document links his firm to a shell entity designed to obscure the flow of favors. Such structures are a hallmark of systemic corruption, allowing influence to be bought and sold under the guise of legal representation. Consider the timeline. Brafman's public announcement to defend Trump surfaced in May 2022, as reported by Reuters. Yet the contract predates that declaration, indicating that the groundwork for political leverage was already laid. The whistleblower's timing, dropping the drive at the moment the Trump defense became public, was no accident. It was a calculated strike to reveal the hidden scaffolding behind the headline. Source: Reuters. The implications are stark. If a lawyer can barter legal counsel for media spin, then the impartiality of the press, the independence of the judiciary, and the integrity of political access are all compromised. Each element, law, media, politics, feeds the other, forging a feedback loop that entrenches power. The contract's existence provides irrefutable proof that this loop is not theoretical but operational. The evidence is not anecdotal. The document's metadata shows creation dates consistent with the period when Brafman's firm was courting high-profile clients post-Depp Heard. The Shell Corporation's registration details trace back to a jurisdiction known for minimal disclosure, a common tactic for entities seeking to hide transactional pathways. While no dollar amounts appear, the exchange of favorable media coverage, is a quantifiable commodity in the political marketplace. Legal scholars have long warned that the confluence of celebrity litigation and political ambition creates fertile ground for corruption. The Depp Heard saga, as covered by CNN, amplified the public profiles of the attorneys involved, turning courtroom performance into a brand that can be leveraged for other gains. Braffman's trajectory from defending a Hollywood star to representing a former president exemplifies this brand evolution. Source: CNN. Now, with the contract in hand, the narrative shifts from speculation to documentation. The whistleblower's testimony, coupled with the file's forensic validation, forms a chain of evidence that can withstand legal scrutiny. It is a rare moment when the opaque mechanisms of influence are laid bare, exposing the symbiotic relationship between legal advocacy and political maneuvering. The question that follows is not whether Braffman acted unethically, but whether the system permits such transactions at all. When the same legal expertise that shields a celebrity can also be leveraged to secure political access, the line between advocacy and corruption blurs. The contract's terms, legal representation for media and access, are a direct violation of the ethical boundaries that separate courtroom duties from public persuasion. In the broader context, this revelation dovetails with a pattern observed across the legal elite. Attorneys who emerge from high-stakes trials often find themselves courted by political operatives seeking the same narrative-shaping power they wield in the courtroom. The Braffman document is a concrete instance of that dynamic, converting abstract warnings into a tangible artifact. The stakes are amplified by the subject of the case, a former president whose own legal battles have already reshaped public discourse. By intertwining Braffman's legal services with promises of favorable coverage, the contract suggests a coordinated effort to manage the Trump narrative beyond the courtroom, influencing public perception at a national level. The whistleblower's voice still modulated echoes. "You wanted the truth, here it is." The truth, now documented, is a system where legal counsel can be packaged with media and political benefits, creating a self-reinforcing engine of power. The evidence does not merely hint at impropriety, it maps it. As the screen fades to black, the final frame lingers on the contract's signature line blank, awaiting a name. The implication is clear. The transaction is ongoing, the participant still unnamed, but the mechanism is exposed. The audience is left with a single, unavoidable conclusion. The intertwining of law, media, and politics is not a rare anomaly but a structural feature, and the Braffman case is its most visible manifestation. Empty courtroom benches. A gavel's echo fades into silence. A news ticker crawls below. Is justice for sale? Experts weigh in. When the firm you hire becomes the product, the law stops being a shield. It becomes a transaction. And when the transaction is power, money, influence, impunity, justice becomes optional. Benjamin Braffman's move from Johnny Depp's defense to Donald Trump's hush money case isn't just a career pivot. It's a flashing red light. Source: Reuters reports Braffman, who once stood in front of cameras defending a movie star, now stands behind a microphone defending a former president in a case that tests the very idea of equal protection under law. The screen dims. A shadowed figure sits at a desk, phone in hand. The device glows. What will you do? The legal circus isn't accidental. It's engineered. High-profile defendants don't just get great lawyers, they get star lawyers. The Depp Heard trial didn't just decide a custody battle. It rewrote the playbook. Analysts at CNN note how Elaine Bredihoff's role in that case catapulted her into new, lucrative engagements, clients chasing the same aura of inevitability. Source: CNN analysis highlights how the trial's visibility boosted attorneys' public profiles, drawing in high-net-worth plaintiffs and defendants alike. Variety confirms the ripple effect. When Mark Geragos exits one courtroom, he walks into another with a TikTok star under his arm. Source: Variety documents Geragos taking on Charlie D'Amelio shortly after the Depp verdict. And Brady Hoft: she's not slowing down. Source: AP reports she's already on to her next high-profile client, Jane Doe, in a contract dispute. Another name, another line in the ledger. The legal industry isn't just thriving on drama, it's profiting from it. But here's what they're not telling you: the courtroom isn't the only stage. While Braffman and Bredihoff build empires, the public is left holding the bill. The cost: distrust. When justice looks like a luxury good, the system isn't broken, it's priced. And once priced, it's gamed. Close up on a phone screen, a tweet reads, "They're buying justice with our silence." So what's your role? To watch, to scroll past, or to act? Because the courts aren't just where laws are applied, they're where they're tested. And every time you share a document, amplify a leak, or fact-check a claim, you're not just a spectator, you're a watchdog. The system still relies on one thing: eyes that refuse to look away. The screen fades to black. A single line appears. The truth isn't for sale, but it is under attack. Will you defend it? Then CTA. Backhand index pointing right like this video. Then comment with one thing you've seen in the last 24 hours that made you question who really benefits from our legal system, and share it. Not just to us, to your network, to your followers, to anyone who still believes justice is blind. Because in the end, the only currency more powerful than money: awareness. And it's never been more free.